Chris Short, everybody.
Good evening. I recently got into a fist fight. I hadn't been in a fist fight since I was in elementary school. I don't want to keep you guys in suspense. I won the fight. But I don't necessarily feel good about it, because in order to get the upper hand, I had to sucker punch her in the face. But you know what? My 9-year-old niece can be a mouthy little bitch, and she had it coming. It's a good holiday joke to start things off. People are always saying I look familiar to them, like they recognize me from someplace. The truth is, you guys are in the presence of a television star this evening. I was on a hit network television show called To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen. I only wanted to meet 13-year-old Billy for some pizza, though. That was it. I recently saw that Chris Hansen got busted cheating on his wife. And I thought, you know, you'd think somebody in such a capacity would be a little more careful about doing something like that. And I don't have anything against Chris Hansen or not, because he's busting pedophiles. But he's always such a smug bastard about it. Like the pedophile comes in and the first thing he always says, "Why don't you have a seat here? What do you think you're doing?" And the pedophile always says the same thing. They're always like, "Oh, I was just meeting 9-year-old Sally to take her to the park." And then that smug asshole pulls out a transcript of their online chat and he goes, "Oh, it says here you were going to slam little 9-year-old Sally in the ass." I think it would have been great if like TMZ or Entertainment Tonight had shown up while Chris Hansen's having an affair, and he walks out of his hotel room, and all of a sudden he's swarmed by cameras. Harry Lemon jams a microphone in his face. He's like, "Hey, Chris, what's going on here? Why don't you have a seat? What do you think you're doing?" I think that would have been sweet justice. My mother is in town for the holidays. I love my mother. She is a great woman. I find it strange that I'm now in my 30s. I own my own home, and yet I still try to hide things from my mother so she'll think I'm a better person than I actually am. An example, the other night I came home really drunk and really late, and I walked in, I flipped on all the lights, started watching TV, and passed out in a beanbag chair next to my dog, Jake. Apparently the noise from the television had awoken my mother. She came down, woke me up, looks down at me, and says, "What are you doing?" And I just sort of came to, and then she points to the carpet and said, "What is that?" And I looked down, and I had puked on the carpet while I was passed out. My dog was laying right there, so I was like, "Oh, the damn dog puked on the carpet!" Before I could do anything, my mom had my dog Jake by the scruff of his neck and was rubbing his nose in my puke. I'm a great person. So at that point, I decided I'm just going to go to bed and keep this lie going because I don't want to explain this to my mother. But the next day I felt terrible about what I had done to my dog Jake. And I thought, what can I do to make this up to him? And I thought, well, maybe an eye for an eye. So I thought, if it's going to be an eye for an eye, should I let Jake shit all over the house for a day? And if I let him do that, if it's really going to make us even, should I stick my nose in his poop and let him bark at me for a little while? I thought, no, this is all too awkward and very unappetizing. Speaking of unappetizing, a friend of mine recently invited me out to dinner at an Ethiopian restaurant. And I said, "Ethiopian restaurant? What the hell are we going to eat there? Isn't everybody starving to death in Ethiopia?" Like, every time I see those, you see those commercials, and all it is some little kid in a shirt with no pants on. They never have pants. Can't my 13 cents a day get a pair of trousers for this little kid? So you go in, and the host is one of these little kids in his half shirt. And they don't even offer you a menu. They just sit you down, and some skinny waitress comes walking over to your table with a big burlap bag with a Red Cross logo on it. She slams it down on the table, his grain goes spilling out everywhere, and then just gives you a glass of dirty dishwater to make a bowl of mush. So I didn't go to the Ethiopian restaurant. I decided I don't want to try that at all. Why is the universal symbol for being handicapped a guy in a wheelchair? Why must we go to the lowest common denominator of showing that somebody's handicapped? If I were handicapped, I would be extremely offended by seeing that image. My grandmother is handicapped, and yet she's not in a wheelchair. I think we should use something a little more inspirational. Like, I think the picture that we put on license plates should be like a guy in a walker, or maybe like just a cane. Or if we really want to make something truly inspirational, how about a guy holding up a crutch in a show of strength and power for the handicapped? The Harlem Globetrotters are coming to town. Anybody excited about that? No. Yeah, one guy. We know what's going to happen. They're going to beat the piss out of the Washington Generals. But this time, they brought a little wrinkle, a new twist. They are doing an anti-bullying campaign. And I thought, isn't that a tad hypocritical that the Globetrotters are doing anti-bullying? I mean, here's a team that not only wins by 100 points, but they have to humiliate their opponent by yanking on their pants and throwing water in the face. And then they have the audacity to do an anti-bullying campaign? That would be like Jerry Sandusky doing an anti-child abuse campaign. All right, thank you very much. Happy holidays.